When Sergeant Marcus Hale stepped off the plane, he carried only 2 bags, a folded flag patch on his shoulder, and one thought in his heart: in a few hours, he would finally hold his children again. For 9 long months, that thought had carried him through heat, dust, exhaustion, and the quiet kind of fear soldiers rarely talk about. Every night before trying to sleep, he would look at the same photo on his phone, his daughter Lily smiling with one front tooth missing, and his little son Noah wearing one of Marcus's old army caps that slipped over his ears. Marcus was not coming home to a perfect life, he was coming home to the only life that mattered to him. He was 36 years old, a veteran, a reservist, and a single father. 3 years earlier, his wife Rachel had died after a sudden illness. Since then, Marcus had lived for only 2 people, 10-year-old Lily and 6-year-old Noah, before deployment. Life had never been easy, but it had been theirs. They lived in a small house on the edge of town. The paint was peeling, the porch steps leaned a little to one side, the kitchen faucet always dripped. But it was home. It was the place where Lily did homework at the table, and Noah built block towers on the living room rug. It was the place where Marcus burned grilled cheese sandwiches, forgot laundry in the washer, braided Lily's hair badly, and learned how to comfort a little boy who still cried for his mother at bedtime before leaving. Marcus had made every plan he could. His younger sister Kayla had agreed to stay in the house with the children. Mrs. Alvarez, their elderly neighbor, promised to keep an eye on them. Marcus had stacked bills in labeled envelopes. He had left school contacts, emergency numbers, and a list on the fridge that said things like, "Lily likes her sandwiches cut in triangles. Noah gets scared during thunder. Don't forget Lily's asthma inhaler and her backpack." You had done everything a father could do before climbing onto a military plane and praying his children would forgive him for leaving again. During deployment, calls were short and often delayed. Sometimes he spoke to the kids twice in a week, sometimes not at all for 10 days. Kayla had sounded tired on the last call. She told him everything was fine enough. Lily sounded quiet. Noah asked only one question: "Daddy, when you come back, can we have pizza the first night?" Marcus had laughed. 2 pizzas. Noah had cheered now, standing outside the airport with a duffel bag over his shoulder. Marcus smiled at the thought. He rented a car and drove straight home. He knew every turn on the road by heart. The gas station where he used to buy chocolate milk for Noah. The school crossing where Lily once waved at him from the bus. The pharmacy where Rachel had picked up medicine before she got sick. His hands tightened on the wheel as his street came into view. Then he slowed down. Then he stopped. Then he forgot how to breathe. Where his house should have been, there was nothing. No porch. No living room window. No bicycle leaning by the steps. No little patch of flowers Lily had tried to plant. Only a fenced-off dirt lot, scattered gravel, and a weather-beaten notice hanging crooked on a wire barrier. Marcus got out of the car so fast he nearly left the door open. He walked toward the lot in a daze, his boots crunching on broken stone. He stared as if the house might return if he blinked hard enough, but it didn't. A man mowing a nearby yard shut off his machine and looked over. "You okay?" Marcus turned slowly. "The house. What happened to the house?" The man frowned. "You're Marcus, right? The soldier?" Marcus nodded, his throat too tight to speak. The man removed his cap. "There was a fire about 4 months ago. Electrical, they said. It spread through the back side. Nobody died, thank God. But the place was declared unsafe. Later, the city tore it down." Marcus felt the world tilt under him. "My kids," he said. "Where are my kids?" Before the man could answer, Mrs. Alvarez opened her front door and hurried out, moving as fast as her age allowed. "Marcus," she cried. She reached him and held both his arms. "Where are Lily and Noah?" he asked, almost whispering now. "Please." Tears filled her eyes. "Oh, mijo, I'm so sorry." She explained it in pieces because there was no gentle way to say it all at once. After the fire, Kayla had tried to manage for a while, staying in motels with the children, but money ran out quickly. Then Kayla got sick with pneumonia and was hospitalized for several days. Mrs. Alvarez was too old and too sick herself to take legal custody. The school reported the situation. Child Services stepped in. They said the children were placed with a licensed emergency family. Mrs. Alvarez said softly, "A foster family. A good one, they told me. They are safe." Marcus stared at her as if he did not understand the language. "Strangers?" he asked. She nodded, crying now. "Only until things are sorted out." He covered his face with both hands. For months he had counted days by scratching tiny marks into a pocket notebook. He had survived mortar alarms, sleepless nights, and the guilt of missing birthdays and school events. But nothing had prepared him for standing on an empty lot, hearing that his children were living with people who did not know Noah hated the dark, or that Lily pretended to be brave when she was scared. "Did they ask for me?" Marcus said. Mrs. Alvarez swallowed hard. "Every day." That was the moment the strong soldier disappeared, and only the father remained. Marcus sank onto the curb beside the dirt lot where his house used to stand. He looked at the empty space and imagined the children in it, Noah dragging his blanket, Lily reading under the lamp, Rachel laughing in the kitchen. Years ago. All gone, but one thing still remained. His children were alive and he was home. Marcus stood up, wiped his face, and picked up his bag. "Where is child services?" he asked. Mrs. Alvarez pointed toward town. Marcus nodded once. He had lost his house. He had lost months with his children. He had lost far too much already. He was not losing them too. The child services office was colder than Marcus expected. Not cold because of the air conditioning. Cold because every parent there looked afraid. Marcus sat in a hard chair under a faded poster that said "Families Can Heal." His duffel bag rested at his feet. He had not eaten since morning. He had not slept in almost 24 hours. Every time a door opened, he stood up, hoping someone would finally say his children's names. At last, a caseworker in a gray cardigan called him into her office. Her name was Angela Brooks. She was calm, direct, and tired in the way people look when they spend their lives in other people's pain. She read through his file and explained the situation carefully. After the house fire and Kayla's hospitalization, the children had been placed with a temporary foster family, Ben and Teresa Collins. They had no reports of abuse. The children were physically safe. They were in school. They had a bed, meals, and routine. Marcus should have felt relieved instead. The words stabbed him. Physically safe, as if that was enough. "I'm their father," he said. "I'm here now. I'll take them today." Angela looked at him with sympathy, not resistance. "I understand why you feel that way, Sergeant Hale, but legally we can't release them immediately." Marcus stared at her. "Why not? You currently have no stable housing," she said gently. "The home is gone. Your bank account shows missed payments and foreclosure proceedings after the fire. We need proof that the children are returning to a safe environment." He leaned forward. "You think I'm not safe for my own kids?" "I think," Angela replied, "that you are a father coming home to a disaster, and I think if we rush this without support, your children may go through another crisis right away." Marcus looked away, jaw tight. She continued, "You can see them. We can arrange supervised visits first. We can help you work toward reunification. But you need housing, some financial stability, and a plan." Marcus laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "A plan? I had a plan. Then my house burned down and my kids disappeared." Angela let the silence sit. Then she said quietly, "Then let's build a new one." The first visit happened the next afternoon in a family room painted with soft blue walls and shelves, full of toys nobody wanted. Marcus stood near the door, his hands shaking. He had imagined this reunion 1,000 times in every version. The children ran into his arms. That was not what happened. Lily walked in first. She had grown taller. Her hair was pulled back in a plain ponytail. Her face looked older than 10. She stopped in the middle of the room. Noah came in behind her, clutching a stuffed dinosaur Marcus had never seen before for 1 second. All three simply stared at each other. Then Marcus opened his arms. "Hey baby girl," he whispered. "Hey buddy." Noah ran first. He crashed into Marcus's chest and held on so tightly it hurt. Marcus dropped to his knees and wrapped both arms around him. Noah's little body shook. Lily came slower. Not because she did not want him, because she had learned something children should never have to learn, that sometimes the people you love leave, even when they promise not to. When she reached him, Marcus pulled her close too. "I'm here," he said, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I'm here." Noah pulled back and looked up at him with red eyes. "Why didn't you come?" he asked. Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came. Lily answered for him, like she had probably been doing for months. "He was deployed." Noah frowned. "I know, but then why didn't he come?" That question followed Marcus like a shadow. Why didn't he come? Why wasn't he there when the fire happened? Why didn't he know faster? Why had life asked so much of children who had already buried their mother? The visits continued over the next few weeks. Marcus rented a cheap motel room with part of his deployment pay. He spent mornings filling out housing forms, insurance paperwork, and veteran assistance applications. In the afternoons he went to meetings with Angela. At night, he worked temporary shifts unloading trucks at a warehouse. He was exhausted. But every hour had one purpose: get Lily and Noah back. Still, the struggle grew heavier. The insurance claim on the house was delayed because of old paperwork issues. His credit was damaged. Apartments turned him away when they saw his financial history. One landlord told him, "Come back when your situation is less complicated." Less complicated, as if children could be placed on hold while adults fixed forms and numbers. The kids were hurting too. During visits, Noah had started wetting the bed at the foster home. Teresa had gently mentioned it to Angela, who told Marcus privately. Lily had become quiet in school. Her teacher said she did her work perfectly but spoke very little. One afternoon, while coloring at the table during a visit, Lily asked without looking up, "Did they tear the house down before or after they took us?" Marcus swallowed. "After." She nodded and kept coloring. A minute later she said, "I kept thinking maybe if the house was still there, you'd know where to find us." Marcus felt something crack inside him. Another day, Noah climbed into his lap and asked, "When we come home, is Mom's mug still in the kitchen?" Marcus looked at Angela across the room. She lowered her eyes. He kissed Noah's forehead and said the only honest thing he could, "No, buddy, It's not. Noah nodded sadly, then whispered, then maybe home is gone for real. Marcus held him tighter. The foster family, Ben and Teresa Collins, were not cruel people. That made everything more complicated. Ben was a mechanic who coached youth baseball on weekends. Teresa worked part-time at the school library. They had no children of their own at home anymore. Their daughter was in college. They had taken Lily and Noah in during an emergency and, by all reports, cared for them kindly. That should have made Marcus grateful. Sometimes it only made him feel smaller. One evening, Angela arranged a meeting at a park so Marcus could see how the children were doing in a more natural setting. Ben and Teresa brought them. Noah ran to Marcus with a paper airplane. Lily smiled for the first time in weeks for an hour. The world almost felt normal. Marcus pushed Noah on the swing and listened to Lily talk about a school reading contest. Teresa stayed back politely. Ben stood near the picnic table, giving Marcus space. Then Angela asked to speak with Marcus privately. The housing program application had not gone through yet. The motel was not considered stable long-term housing. The reunification review would be delayed, probably another few weeks, she said. Marcus closed his eyes. A few weeks. He repeated, I'm sorry. When he turned back, Lily was watching him. Children always know. As sunset painted the park gold. It was time for the children to leave. Noah held Marcus's hand. Are we coming with you? He asked. Marcus knelt in front of him. Not tonight, buddy. Noah's lower lip trembled. But you said you were home. Marcus could not speak. Lily stepped forward and took something from her pocket. It was a small brass key on a blue plastic ring. Our house key, she said. I kept it. Marcus stared at it. I thought. Lily paused, fighting tears. I thought if I still had the key, then maybe one day there would still be a door. She placed the key in his hand, and that was the moment that broke him, because a girl had spent months protecting a key to a house that no longer existed, just to protect the idea that her family might still come back. Together. Marcus folded his fingers around the key and pulled Lily into his arms. She cried against his chest. Noah cried too, when Teresa gently led the children back to the car. Noah looked over his shoulder and shouted, Don't be late this time, Dad. Marcus stood frozen in the parking lot long after the car disappeared. The key dug into his palm so hard it left a mark. That night, alone in the motel room, he sat on the edge of the bed and finally let himself fall apart. Not as a soldier, not as a veteran, as a father who had come home to nothing, and still somehow had to find a way to rebuild everything. The next morning, Marcus packed his duffel bag and checked out of the motel. Not because he had solved anything, because he had finally made a decision. He was done trying to handle the whole disaster alone for weeks. Pride had kept him standing in the middle of his own wreckage, telling himself he could fix it without help. But fatherhood had taught him something deployment never did. Strength is not only carrying weight, sometimes strength is admitting you cannot carry it by yourself. Marcus walked straight into Angela's office. I'll do whatever it takes, he said. Every class, every form, every program. I don't care how it looks. I want my kids back, and I want it done right. For the first time, Angela smiled. Good, she said. Now we can move. That was the turning point. Within days, she connected Marcus to a veterans transitional housing program. It was not perfect, a small, two-bedroom apartment in a quiet complex for veterans, rebuilding their lives, but it was clean, safe, and real. A local church donated furniture. Another veteran gave him a used kitchen table. Mrs. Alvarez brought a box of dishes and cried when she saw him unloading. Then Ben Collins helped him pick up a second-hand bunk bed in his truck. Marcus had resisted that kindness at first. Then Ben said something. Marcus never forgot. Your children don't need you to prove you can suffer alone, he said. They need to see you build. So Marcus built. He took a full-time job at an auto repair shop owned by an old friend from high school. He attended counseling for stress and grief. He completed a parenting support course, not because he didn't love his children, but because loss had changed all three of them and he needed tools, not just good intentions. He painted the children's room himself. Lily chose light green for one wall. Noah chose blue because, in his words, blue feels like safe. Marcus bought cheap curtains, a small lamp, and dinosaur sheets Noah would probably outgrow in a year. He placed a notebook on Lily's bed and wrote on the first page, for your stories, your thoughts, or anything you can't say out loud. Slowly, the visits changed. Noah laughed more. Lily stopped watching the clock. They helped Marcus arrange their room. They argued over where to put books and toys. They ate takeout pizza on the apartment floor one Friday night. And Noah suddenly grinned. You remembered, he said. Marcus smiled back. 2 pizza. I said I would. The final hearing came 6 weeks later. Marcus wore his cleanest shirt and sat with both hands locked together, trying not to look as nervous as he felt. Angela presented the progress report. Housing secured. Employment stable. Counseling attended. Home approved. Children bonded strongly with father. Reunification recommended. The judge spoke gently, reviewed the file, and then looked at Marcus over her glasses. Sergeant Hale, Your family has been through a severe disruption, she said, but the evidence shows you have worked hard to create a safe and loving home for your children. Custody is to be fully restored effective today, with continued community support. Marcus heard the words, but for a second they did not feel real. Then Noah shouted, "Does that mean we're going with Dad?" Even the judge smiled. "Yes," she said, "that's exactly what it means." Noah jumped up, Lily pressed both hands over her mouth and began to cry. Marcus knelt and held them both, unable to stop his own tears. That evening, the three of them stood outside their new apartment together. It was smaller than the old house. There was no porch swing. No flower patch. History in the walls, but there was a door. Marcus took the old brass key from his pocket and looked at Lily. "This one doesn't fit here," he said softly. Lily nodded. He held out the new key. "You want to do it?" Her face lit up through tears. She took the key, slid it into the lock, and opened the door. Noah ran inside first, shouting, "Home." That word filled every room. Home. Not because the apartment was special. Not because their troubles were over, but because love had arrived before furniture, and hope had returned before comfort. That first night, they sat on blankets in the living room eating macaroni from paper bowls. Noah fell asleep with his head in Marcus's lap. Lily leaned against his shoulder. After a long silence, she asked, "Dad, yeah, are we okay now?" Marcus looked around the little apartment, the taped-up drawing on the fridge, the half-built bookshelf, the unpacked box near the wall, his son asleep, his daughter finally sounding like a child again. He kissed the top of her head. "We're not perfect," he said, "but yes, we're okay." A month later, they visited the old street together. The empty lot was still there. Noah held Marcus's hand tightly. Lily stood quietly beside him. Marcus expected the visit to hurt. It did, but not in the same way. This time, they were not standing there as people who had lost everything. They were standing there as a family that had survived it. Mrs. Alvarez came out to meet them carrying a small young maple tree in a pot. "For your new place," she said. Marcus took it with both hands. That weekend, the three of them planted it outside their apartment building. Noah shoveled too much dirt. Lily tried to make the hole perfect. Marcus laughed for the first time in a long time when they finished. Noah looked up and asked, "Will it grow big?" Marcus nodded. "Yeah," he said, "if we take care of it." Lily smiled. "Like us." Marcus looked at both of his children and felt something settle inside him at last. Exactly like us. And in that quiet little yard, with dirt on their hands and evening light on their faces, Marcus understood something he would carry for the rest of his life. A house can burn, walls can fall, plans can fail, but a family is rebuilt, one choice, one act of love, and one faithful day at a time.